Not yet. Oh my God, no. Look, I got to present this. This is the first time I ever did. Look, I got up. I looked in the mirror. I looked at the phone. I was like, talk your man. He explains the fifth dimension and how the gods actually used it.
Yeah. I'll look at it in a minute. Robert Cardone is pretty good.
But look.
I'll talk to you in a minute, Jeremiah. I'm on a time schedule. Top of the day, beautiful people.
Well, actually, I'm going to leave y'all with this bit of...
Jeremiah. Later. What'd I say?
What
no, it's not.
It does.
Jeremiah. You just been talking. The Nat Shalom. Greetings. Good morning, Angelique. Glad y'all made it early. 6:15. Well, I'm glad I made it because I had a dream I overslept. I was like, oh my God. Okay, Jeremiah, we'll finish this conversation in a few. Okay? All right, beautiful people. Top of the day. It is Monday, October the 31st, 2022. Day 251 of year 4, reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets. And of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1,250. We are starting Oahspe all over again. Well, we started over again yesterday. And today we are in the beginning of the introduction on page xiii, which is 13. All right. Okay, Kendra, Shalom, Shebrew. Hey, girl, hey, all praises to the Creator. Father, we thank you that there is nobody greater than you. All right, y'all. The introduction. Quote, how could I have believed anything less of the kind Father of life? His wise omnipotence could only do what was best and tenderest from the very constitution of his nature of divine love. How could I doubt in God what I and my little wisdom should have planned to meet human needs? End quote. And that's by Walter DeVoe, You Will Not Die, 1907. Anita, greetings. The title of the book, Oahspe, literally means literally sky, earth, and spirit. O for sky, Ah for earth, and Spe for spirit. The book is a product of automatic writing, which occurred through the hands of a medium, Dr. John B. Newborough, over the course of 1 year, 1881, in New York City. The book stated that it was written by an overshadowing of angelic beings who are not a separate order in creation, but are actually our elder brothers and sisters, once mortals like us, but now high raised in wisdom through countless years of growth and experience. They stated that Oahspe is not a perfect book, nor is it the alpha and omega of knowledge. Rather, it is like a traveler's guide to greater spiritual growth and understanding. Its purpose is to give us an insight, while yet immortality, of what the world of spirit is really like and what the general history of the world has been. As a result, it gives us greater clarity regarding our true purpose and destiny as the immortal, eventually angelic souls that we are. Right? And clearly, through our first reading, we found this to be true personally. Set apart, happy new day. New students of Oahspe may ask, why would such a book be written at all? Why in 1881 and not some other year? Why through an unknown personality like John Newborough and not through someone more famous? Why in so questionable a form as automatic writing, rather than appearing in a burst of light already completed on a tablet of gold and exhibited for all to see? First of all, Oahspe states that we have entered a new era, one in which we will eventually see the maturity of humanity. It explains that this is part of the natural evolution of any inhabited planet. Oahspe indicates that the inhabited planets are a frequent occurrence throughout our vast universe, which is a perfectly reasonable idea to accept, considering the vastness of infinity. What are the odds of there being more than one planet with life if there are an infinite number of planets to choose from? We entered this era not long before the book was written, and efforts at enlightenment, such as Oahspe, are standard operating procedures at those times. Revelations are divinely inspired in more than one form, in more than one place, in varying shapes and styles, so that the greatest number of people can be reached according to their varied abilities to accept and understand. Just like another book I mentioned at the very beginning of us starting this, I want to say, while we were reading the introduction the very first time, I thought about, I'm not sure if y'all heard of it. Y'all may have, called the Third Testament. I actually found it online by looking up something, and I got it, and I think you can order it from Amazon, but at the time I couldn't order it from Amazon. I just printed it from the PDF that somebody shared with me. It's really thick. I had to put it in 2 volumes, and it's like double-sided. But there was some interesting stuff in there. Some stuff I wasn't too sure about at the moment. But I had been thinking about it a lot lately, kind of like revisiting it. There were definitely some passages in there that I perceived at the time were absolutely truth. And it had a lot to do with spiritual things, because I've tested a lot of spiritual things because of my supernatural experiences that I've had. So some of those things were really enlightening to me. I'm not telling y'all to go get it. I'm just saying this is one of those ones that came out, but it came out in not New Mexico. I'm thinking New Mexico. New Mexico is part of the United States. In Mexico, right down in not exactly Mexico, but like the South America region. That's where that one came from. And I want to say around about this time. Don't quote me. I gotta go look. It's been on my bookshelf for a minute. I haven't opened it in years. But it definitely happened during that time. And one of the things that was throwing me off was because somebody like Hispanic wrote it, right? So I'm just like, well, at that point, I was like, well, shouldn't a Hebrew have gotten this information? And they wrote it. I don't know. I don't think it's credible. But I can't deny the truth in what this passage said and what that said and what that said. So I was just, I don't know. I didn't throw away the book. I was like, I'm going to keep it. Because it was really intriguing to me, right? Hana Grand Rising, Tabitha, Shalom, Shalom. So, but that's probably one of the ones. I don't know, but I'm going to revisit it just to see. Let me go back. We entered this new era not long before this book was written, and efforts at enlightenment, such as Oahspe, are standard operating procedures at those times. Revelations are divinely inspired in more than one form, in more than one place, in varying shapes and styles, so that the greatest number of people can be reached according to their varied abilities to accept and understand. These inspirational efforts have been and will continue to be applied to the full spectrum of knowledge, from the purely spiritual, like Oahspe, to inspire hard science, like E equals MC squared. The eventual result will be a mature balance between both spiritual and material knowledge throughout all of humanity, but evolving within an era extending thousands of years in a blink of an eye to those who are beyond mortality. The transmission of Oahspe by automatic writing should not be a surprise. Spirit communion is normal, natural, and not as difficult as some people are led to believe. It actually occurs much more frequently than most people consciously realize, being typically permitted as vague imagings, intuitive impressions, or even fortuitous premonitions. Like, it's happening all the time, especially if you get a vision and you write it down. It's another one. It may not necessarily say automatic writing because you weren't sitting there, but you got it in vision form and then you wrote it down. But the whole point is that you got it from the spirit realm, right? Forget the medium and how we wrote it down to convey the information here. The whole thing was, it's a spirit impression. The information that you got came from the spiritual realm, right? And some people just speak it, and that we call prophecy, right? The eventual result will be a mature balance between both spiritual and material knowledge throughout all of humanity, but evolving within an era extending thousands of years, obliquum veni, to those who are beyond mortality. The transmission of Oahspe by automatic writing should not be a surprise. Spirit communion is normal, natural, and not as difficult as some people are led to believe. It actually occurs much more frequently than most people consciously realize, being typically permitted as vague imagings, intuitive impressions, or even fortuitous premonitions. It is only labeled as evil by those who lack understanding, right? We figured that out, right? We even tried to show people. It is only labeled as evil by those who lack understanding or by those who believe that they can only maintain their misguided agenda by suppressing honest investigation and keeping us ignorant of the true state of affairs. Knowing their agenda will not stand up to logic and intelligent inquiry, they have learned that inducing fear can serve their interests. Fear and ignorance have long been established as interrelated in nature. It is a sobering realization for the duplicitous that most people, if allowed the unfettered freedom to think for themselves, will eventually arrive at a place closer to the truth. Early in this new era, many people with mediumistic abilities were raised, guided, and groomed by the angels who have us in their care. It just happened that John Newbro was the right person in the right place at the right time, the one who had the best ability and development at the time. The angelic overshadowing was ready to carry out this effort in education. Automatic writing was apparently the most efficient way to transmit the information required at that place and time. In this case, the writing was accomplished through the means of a typewriter, but the principle remains the same. Through natural development and training, an individual becomes able to enter a passive, meditative state that allows an intelligence other than one's own to take control of the body's mechanical functions temporarily and right under that control. I told you when this happened to me the very first time. I tell this story because it's the first time that I actually realized it was happening to me. And I was out to sea. This was when the young lady, she was about to commit suicide. But all this time, while we were out to sea, mind you, I had no distractions of family other than calling, checking on everybody because we was out for the Mediterranean cruise, like for a tour out to sea, right? And all I had been doing when I wasn't at work on duty on the ship, I was either in my berthing, in my rack, reading my Bible, or I was sitting in a chapel, or I was off on like in one of the catwalks or something, just meditating, looking at the horizon, right? So at this time, it seemed to be out of the ship of the 5,000 people, the crew that was out there, I just happened to be the right person in the right place at the right time who was most capable of being used by the unseen realm to save this girl's life, right? And I told you I know now it was the Spirit of the Father, the Spirit of the Creator flowing through me. It was like I stepped back and I watched what was happening and the words that was coming out of my mouth. I'm like, first of all, this is amazing. What is even happening? Like I'm thinking this while the Spirit is speaking through me to her. I had no idea what was going on. Had no idea she was about to go take her life, right? Listen, but she didn't tell me that till some weeks later. It was amazing. It was amazing, right? That's why I'm like, yo, a lot of stuff is not far-fetched, and a lot of people can't believe it if they actually have not had any kind of spiritual experience anywhere close to this, right? Listen. Okay, we're on page X. My alarm clock on my phone. Somebody do me a favor. Because I'm not sure if anybody here on Facebook, I'm not sure if the sound goes out when my internal alarms go off. I know when a telephone call comes through, it'll kill the sound. But I don't know. Somebody let me know if y'all there or somebody. I don't know. We'll see. If the sound is just out for the whole video, I'll just post a link for this. But we're gonna find out today. All right. Dreadful Cosmine Shalom, Infinite Rising, Elijah, peace and blessings. Look, okay. I'm good? Okay. All right. Let me go back up. Yeah, we're on page xiv, which is page 15. Is it? No, maybe I got that wrong. 14? 14. It's 14. Page 14. We're in the introduction. Like, if you got the electronic version, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're in the 6th paragraph toward the bottom. Okay. Oh, sweet. Thank you, Angelique. All right, great. Okay. Through natural development and training, an individual becomes able to enter a passive meditative state that allows an intelligence other than one's own to take control of the body's mechanical functions temporarily and under that control. Matter of fact, we see this every time there's about to be a graduation in Oahspe, when the Etherian goddesses come down to graduate the brides and bridegrooms when they sit upon the throne. When they sit upon the throne, the spirit of Jehovah, or the spirit of the Creator, begins to speak through them. And right before it happens, it lets you know that that's happening, and they begin to speak. And when the Creator lifts off of them, they begin to speak as themselves. It specifically points this out through Oahspe when that happened. Have I been in contact with her since then? I have not been. But something that happened shortly after this happened, and I mentioned this before when I told the full story. We were out to sea. Shortly after this happened, they had been a couple anyway for like a couple years, right? But they really frown upon fraternization within the military, especially having like a boyfriend, girlfriend within your same division. They really frown upon that because it could, you might not be focused on the job. But what happened shortly after this, he actually got in trouble, right? And he got thrown into the brig, right, while we were out to sea. Which I think was a really good thing, because after that happened, we found out that even while we was out to sea, he was beating on her. Some of the guys in their division knew, but nobody said anything, right? And this was happening while we were out to sea. So he got himself in trouble when we got into port somewhere, getting into a drunken brawl while we were out there. They got him, threw him in the brig. But things came out and somebody snitched, right? I'm not sure if it was her, but somebody snitched. And they began to investigate, and they found bruises on her, right? I was actually working TAD security at the time. And when they brought her down for questioning, I'm like, oh Lord, I was about to say that girl name again. I was like, hey, I had no idea, because I'm dispatch, right? So I'm behind the cage all day doing duty, for dispatch, talking to the patrolmen, issuing weapons and all of that stuff. But it still wasn't a little while after that, because I can't go being nosy like, ooh, why was she down here? Yeah, I just couldn't do that. But we found out that not only was he beating her off duty, but on duty he was beating her, but he eventually did go to real jail when we got back for other charges, so it was a saving grace for her while we was out to sea, because we still had a good bit of time left out there. And imagine how to suffer through that. Not even while we are home in port, back in civilized world, right? But actually going out to sea, where like you're getting no kind of break from that. And she was the sweetest woman. She is. I haven't talked to her since I got out. I'm not even sure if she's still in the area, because I know she stayed in for a while. That I do know. Just kind of like through social media. Like early social media, like MySpace social media. I hadn't seen her since like when MySpace went off the scene. I didn't see her like anymore, any of the other things, and I hadn't, like, cause I looked for her a couple times and I haven't seen her, I haven't looked for her in a while, but No, I haven't been in contact with her for quite some years, and I got off of active duty in 2003. Zachariah, who shalom, shalom. Right? Okay. Jamia, hey girl, hey. All right, so let's finish this paragraph. I'm gonna go up a couple sentences. Matter of fact, let me just start the paragraph over. Early in this new era, many people with mediumistic abilities were raised, guided, and groomed by the angels who have us in their care. It just happened that John Newbro was the right person in the right place at the right time, the one who had the best ability and development at the time. The angelic overshadowing was ready to carry out this effort in education. Automatic writing was apparently the most efficient way to transmit the information required at that place and time. In this case, the writing was accomplished through the means of a typewriter, but the principle remains the same. Through natural development and training, an individual becomes able to enter a passive, meditative state that allows an intelligence other than one's own to take control of the body's mechanical functions temporarily and right under that control, which is the same way people can also get possessed. If you're opening yourself up and you're doing things that are against the natural order of growth and the creator, you can also allow this to happen. And entities of a whole lot lesser light can come in and take over your functions and put you in the sunken place, right? We gently step aside for the Father to flow through us, right? And after he says what he's going to say, he go ahead and give us control back of our vehicle, right? This is a form of, through natural development and training, an individual becomes able to enter a passive, meditative state that allows an intelligence other than one's own to take control of the body's mechanical functions temporarily and right under that control. This is a form of mediumship that has been used countless times throughout history, whether by type, pencil, brush, or by hand directly on tablets of sand. Dr. John Newbro explained in his own words how Oahspe was written in a letter he sent to a magazine, The Banner of Light, in Boston, reprinted at the end of the introduction. Death, as we call it, is not the end of our existence, but rather the beginning of the real life for which we were created. As indestructible spirit beings, we are all immortal souls destined for growth far above and beyond the limited experiences we have while residing for a brief time on earth. On first crossing the veil between mortality and the life and spirit, our friends and relatives who have just passed on are not as far away as some of us imagine, for the transformation of death is more of a change in dimension than distance. Consequently, one does not have to wait long for loving assistance from friends and family when first passing into spirit life. That proximity is what also allows communication between our realm and theirs to occur when appropriate preparations are provided. This is because all of us, whether spirit or mortal, dwell in the same sea, S-E-A, in the same sea of mind and all mind, and it is through that same all-pervading medium that we are all forever inextricably linked together in thought. The only catch is that the sudden transformation at death does not instill in us any sudden injection of wisdom, a relative quality that grows only by ongoing experience through the infinite eons before us. At first, we are, at best, not very different than we were in mortality. We leave this plane with very much the same intelligence and understanding we had as mortals. For that reason, communications from the realm of spirit are not necessarily true or accurate. We should not accept information as unconditionally true just because it came from the spirit plane, any more than we accept information we receive now just because we read it in the newspapers. We should always subject information we receive to the test of our own inspired intelligence and reason, or else we are no better than puppets or automatons. Oahspe does purport, however, to have been written by angels who are far beyond us in life experience, because of their long sojourn in the realm of the spirit, which is our true destiny as well. They are able to give us insight that are much more all-encompassing in scope and comprehension than that could be ascertained from anyone with limited experience. One must also understand that Dr. Nubro was not perfect. He was neither a prophet nor a saint. He was merely a well-developed medium who became the most convenient and suitable tool in the hands of the angelic overshadowing when they were ready to accomplish this task of transmitting Oahspe. The value is in the content of the book and not in who wrote it. If it had fallen from the sky in a flash of light, its value as a source of information would not have been improved by that event if the message it contained had been lacking in relevance or truth. And this is one of the main things that we are trying to get people to see, where they're so focused on who wrote it, they're not even testing the information or trying to verify what is in it. Let me just read this again. This is amazing. This is my second time reading through it, and I don't even remember reading any of this when we read through. It's like I'm reading this for the first time again. I guess now because we've gone through it and we got a different insight and we figured that out along through reading it, that it really has nothing to do, right? Especially now that we find out some of the other things that John Nubro got into and allowed to happen to him after this overshadowing happened to him. Let me read this paragraph again. We're at the bottom of page 14 of the bottom of page xiv in the introduction. One must also understand that Dr. Nubro was not perfect. He was neither a prophet nor a saint. He was merely a well-developed medium who became the most convenient and suitable tool in the hands of the angelic overshadowing when they were ready to accomplish this task of transmitting Oahspe. The value is the content of the book and not in who wrote it. If it had fallen out of the sky in a flash of light, its value as a source of information would not have been proved by that event if the message it contained had been lacking in relevance or truth. There have been other books written under inspiration, both before and after Oahspe was published. Many of those books included similar information, and one should expect this to occur. Oahspe is truly unique, however, in its scope and comprehensive overview of the subject. Several years after the publishing of Oahspe, Dr. Nubro founded a utopian community for raising orphan children based on the model given in the Book of Shalom, which appears near the end of Oahspe. Unfortunately, this ambitious project was an example of what an incredible degree of willpower and an incredible amount of money could accomplish when the quality of people needed to make such an undertaking a success was sadly lacking. Let me read the whole sentence again. Unfortunately, this ambitious project was an example of what an incredible degree of willpower and an incredible amount of money could accomplish when the quality of people needed to make such an undertaking a success was sadly lacking, right? Because we know, and we're going to find out some deeper details about this, because I'm going to grab those stories up, these accounts, these investigations that they also have there. My husband and I will be purchasing the tickets for our flight there. If not today, definitely no later than tomorrow. We're trying to get some seating arrangements in order and make sure our layovers are not too long, right? Because my husband has long legs and we need exit row seats. So that's what we plan with the flights and the layovers and stuff. All right. The Book of Shalom was meant to be a parable, an allegory, a lesson in the form of a story used to illustrate what the society of the future will be like when humanity has progressed to a point in this new era where it will be able to live in a higher way. This transformation will not be sudden, nor will it occur through the imposition of a proverbial utopia. Rather, the implication is that this societal shift will first develop from a new social structure that functions in parallel with the old, but which will gradually displace the old by attrition, not revolution. Kind of like what we said, right? It's going to start in our own households. And wherever the people of the Creator are, there will shalom be, right? And it's going to be happening in simultaneous places all over the world. It's going to be happening simultaneously in multiple places all over the world. I'm going to read this again. This transformation will not be sudden, nor will it occur through the imposition of a proverbial utopia. Rather, the implication is that this societal shift will first develop from a new social structure that functions in parallel with the old, but which will gradually displace the old by attrition, not revolution, meaning attrition meaning slowly dying off. This will be a world in which a society governed by rigid laws and regulations, self-serving majorities, and special interests will be gradually supplanted by an alternate society governed by sincere selflessness and compassion, with a commonly held reverence for our Creator by conviction and choice, not by force. The culmination will be a society that universally recognizes and nurtures that of God in everyone and intuitively structures its community and interpersonal relationships accordingly. As difficult as it may be to comprehend, all wars and terrorism will have ceased. Unfortunately, as a society, we are not much closer to that state of mind now than we were more than a century ago when Dr. Newbro's Shalom was attempted. But that does not mean that such a harmonious, selfless order of society would never come to pass. And according to Oahspe, just the first segment or arc of this era, called Cosmon, spans approximately 3,000 years. Oh, yeah. 32 minutes. We got the pause right here. All right, so we'll pick this back up tomorrow. Put my marker here. All right, so we pause right here. Remember, we really got to stick with our times. So I hope that was good. I mean, it was good to me. Second time going through because I forgot we even read any of that. All right, y'all. So let's hop over to the field guide to the spirit world. Automation is what whirlwind called naysayers. Automatons. Oh, Mom, shalom. Okay. Back to field guide to the spirit world, the science of angel power, discarnate entities, and demonic possession by Susan B. Martinez. So we paused on page 15, right? And we had just finished reading about energy and poltergeist. Okay, so this is, I think it's just giving another example. Yeah, it's just going to give a few more examples and some quotes from different places and some resources. All right. Auntie Belinda Brown, Grand Rising. Okay. In 1960, page 15, y'all. In 1964, at a Detroit automobile factory, a motor fitter suddenly lurched out of the path of a giant body press which had been accidentally activated. Afterward, he said he had actually been thrust out of the way by a tall black man with a scar. Well, some of the older workers recognized the description. 20 years earlier, during the war, a black man with a scarred cheek had been accidentally decapitated while working in the same area of the shop. Amazed by his own miraculous escape, the 1964 motor fitter asserted that the black guy was real enough to him. He had enormous strength and easily pushed him out of harm's way. I never believed in spooks before, but if this was a spook, I take my hat off to him. When the story became public, the ghost entity interpretation was replaced by the following redaction. One of the fitter's older co-workers, seeing him in danger, but too far away to pull him from safety, suddenly had a powerful subconscious image of the dead man, the black guy, which he telepathically transmitted to the endangered man. I do wonder why this far-fetched, loose-jointed scenario is more acceptable than the ghost itself, the entity. I have to laugh at the irony of it all, remembering Colonel Alcott's what's it? P-K-P-I-Q-U-E? Maybe it's pick. I have to laugh at the irony of it all, remembering Colonel Alcott's pick at those who seem to take it as a personal affront if credited with an immortal soul. Alcott, 1972, page 77. So they'd rather make up a story instead of telling the truth because I guess it would be more believable, right? And the real ghostly happenings wouldn't really be believable, right? Uncle JB, shalom, shalom. I sent y'all a text last night. Y'all really want to go? Like those who really want to go to New Mexico with us, we're purchasing our tickets, like I said, no later than tomorrow. We're still trying to get our seating arrangements and all that stuff and layovers together, right? So if like y'all really wanted to go, I guess we just, y'all had to get y'all flights and all that stuff, and we let y'all know the day we're going to be there and just kind of synchronize everything to that so where we can meet there at the same time, right? Because we want to make like a stop on our way. So, you know, because we use anytime we get away, we change into like a whole date night thing, right? Okay, I ain't checked my message. Okay, cool. All right, and I know Jamia said that she wants to go, right? So, I don't know. Y'all let me know. I'll keep y'all updated. Lindsay, shalom, shalom. Thank you. Okay. When the story, nope, I went up too far. Go down to the last paragraph at the bottom, page 15. I am reminded of a passage in another 19th century work called Spiritualis that states, to those who believe nothing, we, spirit assemblies, have tried many ways to make them understand. Remember, Spiritualis is another book that John Newbrough wrote actually before the overshadowing of Oahspe. To those who believe nothing, we, spirit assemblies, have tried many ways to make them understand. In cases of sudden death, emphasis added, we have induced the deceased spirit to return to the place and take upon himself the elements necessary for your mortal vision to behold. But you believed not the spirit. Newbrough, 1874. Here, I would direct your attention to the words sudden death. It is one of the most relevant circumstances touched on in the chapters to come. But for the moment, let me recommend to the reader an extraordinary book, The Ghost of Flight 401 by John G. Fuller. I haven't gotten this one, but I might. The Ghost of Flight 401 by John G. Fuller. A compelling account of modern ghostery, the book provides a striking parallel with the above story of the Detroit motor fitter. Both the deceased pilot of the crash Flight 401 and the deceased auto worker in wartime Detroit made their return for one reason only, to guard and protect those who followed after them. Quote, angels and ministers of grace defend us, end quote. William Shakespeare, Hamlet. Conversant as we may be with human psychology and proverbial iceberg lies, Conversant as we may be with human psychology, the proverbial iceberg lies in a sea of theories, the simple truths of psyche undertold by a tidal wave of experts who know nothing of the unseen dimension of life. The facts, nonetheless, are staring us in the face, yet we hesitate to connect the dots, for the picture extends from the familiar, visible, to the unfamiliar, invisible world, and we quail on the brink of the unknown, lingering at the threshold of enlightenment. For 150 years and more, the official science of man has made every effort to explain away the signs and symptoms of the invisible world. Even members of ghost clubs, past and present, have been spiritual agnostics, given to explanations acceptable to materialism. I shouldn't be, but I am always jolted by their conservative conclusions. Take Peter Underwood, for example, longtime president of the London Ghost Club. He states, the experience of seeing the ghost of a person after they are dead originates from the person of the seer. It could be classed as wishful thinking. I hesitate to accept that ghosts are evidence of an afterlife. Underwood, 1986, page 219. And with the afterlife thus censored or rebuked by our intelligentsia, our intelligence community, and with the afterlife thus censored or rebuked by our intelligentsia, we are told that it is instead our own inner life that holds the answers. I write this book to challenge that assumption. I write this book to speak openly about those dwelling in the next world, those going before. I write this book to explore the multitudinous ways in which the spirit world touches on our own, and to illuminate the ways of the everlasting soul. Quote, until man recognizes that he is an immortal spirit and possesses all the equipment of a spirit and intelligence that the great majority never even suspect in themselves, a divinity, a genius of the angelic, until he develops this to the utmost, he will remain as he now is, the most advanced among the higher animals, combative, acquisitive, the slave of himself, the sport of circumstance and of evil forces. That was good. End quote. Louis Spence, Will Europe Follow Atlantis? That's the name of his book. The New Age, with its frankly narcissistic focus on self, is the first to portray these mysteries as inner, sending us off to ply the so-called subconscious mind, the inner life, for stuff that in reality impinges on the soul from without. This misdirection must be the reason our thinking, our theories have dead-ended. Quote, the world is sick with theories. End quote. W.B. Yeats. The overworked inner mind, whatever that is, has thus stood in for the actual doings of spirits, as in poltergeistery, which is mawkishly blamed on the mind's inability to cope with strain, entirely missing the otherworldly element. Likewise, has the ghost world often been reduced to hallucinations. And after hallucinations, there's a little asterisk. And it says, hallucination. If we are hallucinating, so are our pets, right? Yeah, explain this. Our pets can see it too. If y'all have a pet, like I don't have one, but I've observed other people's pets when spirits are around. They can, if they had mouths to talk, they're like, listen, Jimmy's staying over there in the corner. He been here since the day he died. He ain't going nowhere. That's the one that's been slamming these doors, pushing the cups off the counter. The dogs wouldn't be able to shut up, which is probably why they howling and barking all the time and acting crazy every time Jimmy show up. And y'all act like y'all don't see this fool. Listen. Oh, if I could read the minds of animals. Listen. Hold on. Hallucination. If we are hallucinating, so are our pets. In one case of a frightening haunting, 4 Pomeranian dogs in the house were reduced to abject terror, showing that there was no hallucination upon the part of the human observers. End quote. Doyle, 1930, page 58. All right, so let's go back up. I start the little paragraph over. The overworked inner mind, whatever that is, has thus stood in for the actual doings of spirits, as in poltergeistery, which is mawkishly blamed on the mind's inability to cope with strain, entirely missing the otherworldly element. Likewise has the ghost world often been reduced to hallucinations, and in the same way are victims of spirit obsession supposedly imagining the interference of unseen personalities. Quote, what they're really hearing is their own inner voice imagined. End quote. Morrison, 2004, page 134. Listen here, let me tell y'all something. I didn't make a comment last night, but when the ladies were on, at the end, I think it was one of the ladies had asked, is there any more questions that was about to end? And somebody said, Selah had a question. He said, it was Halloween. And he pretty much said, anybody got any, stories to share, right? And so I debated whether if I wanted to share it or not, because this happened just recently while we've been in the house. And I'm like, who the crap is that? Y'all better quit playing, right? So listen, it was one night. My husband came home late and he said he wanted to talk to me, right? And I was like, I ain't in the mood tonight. I don't feel like talking. I'm going to bed. But I was still up scrolling social media, working on the thumbnails and stuff. And I heard his truck pull up. I'm like, oh, shoot, he here. I need to fake like I'm asleep. Look, it was funny. And it's probably, I don't know, I probably opened the door. I don't know. But what happened was, here I go acting foolish, running through the house, pulling my clothes off and stuff and go to jump in the bed, act like I'm asleep and pull the covers over my head. I hear him. Now, here's what should have keyed me in, right? I didn't hear, even if somebody open, y'all hear it, right? When my front door opens, the garage door opens, you hear the alarm garage door open or front door open. What should have keyed me in was that I didn't hear that happening. Nene Shalom says, right? So I was in the bed trying to fake like I was asleep because I didn't really want to have this conversation. It wasn't nothing really bad or whatever, but it was something we need to talk about. But I was like, not tonight. I just don't feel like it. I'm going to sleep. Matter of fact, while I was doing this, I was on the phone talking to my baby sister. I'm like, Lord, girl, James. See, I was like, let me get off this phone. I was like, look, and so look, I got her on my cell phone while I'm running through the house. And she said, girl, you stupid. I'm like, look, girl, bye. So she saw me doing this. I'm like, this is part of my own foolishness. We could just have this conversation and be done in about 10, 15 minutes or what. I was like, but I just don't feel like it tonight, right? So listen, after I jumps in the bed, I hear walking up the stairs. Now, what I didn't understand was, why was he stomping up the stairs, right? And there was like heavy footsteps, Hosea, shalom, shalom, right? Like, boom, boom. And I'm like, what he mad about? Dang. I was like, I'm really going to fake like I'm asleep. So I hear like all 15 steps, right? And then the door pushes open, right? The door pushes open and he's still freaking stomping through the room, right? Listen, like, not like, but like heavy, like somebody's walking on purpose, trying to make noise, like. And I'm laying there, I'm like, Lord, I know he gonna think I'm faking. He gonna come in here and snatch these covers off me, right? So I'm laying there and I can't understand. I'm like, why is he walking so goddamn hard on the floor? Walks in the bathroom. There is no carpet. Now, imagine, come in the house. Downstairs, there is no carpet because we had no carpet in here. But there's carpet starting going upstairs, right? So it's carpet. But when you come through our room and you go into the bathroom, there's no carpet in the bathroom. But then you go back further into our closet, there's carpet back there. So the footsteps go through, and I'm just like, Lord, he gonna stop. He gonna come right over here. And this whole I'm doing this under the covers, right? I'm on my side, thinking like I'm asleep. I just know, because I know my husband. He gonna snatch these covers. He ain't gonna snatch them, but he gonna pull them back. Be like, hey, I told you I wanted to talk to you. So me being paid, I'm like, I'm not tonight. I'm not. Literally, y'all. This was about, what we at? October. the end of September, like the last week of September. Like this thing, when I think about this, I'm like, what is going on? All right, look. And so man, we already did shots. We just finished reading Oahspe. So I'm thinking about all of this stuff. But not at this time when this was happening, because I still thought this was my husband. Right? I kid y'all not. And then, hold on, let me just finish telling the story. So I put the door to the bedroom pushes open. I didn't have it closed all the way. It's just somebody walking in. I just casually walk in, push the door open, walk in. That's what happened. But I could still hear the footsteps, right? Walking on the carpet. We have thick carpet, right? So he walks in, and I hear the footsteps change from the carpet, what they sound like on the carpet, to the bathroom floor, you know? And it sounds like that. And then back on the carpet into the closet, right? So I'm like, okay. In there changing clothes. I heard something drop, like he took his pants or his shirt off, right? Y'all, I'm used to, I know the sounds and what my husband does, right? So all this happens, and then it just gets quiet. And I'm like, what are you doing back there, right? I'm just like, I'm gonna pull my nose out from under the covers because it's kind of hot under here. I'm like, Pam, you is ridiculous. You just wanted to talk about this one little thing, and you acting like this is too much. So I'm there, I'm like catching my breath. But then, after about not even a minute of that, I heard the front door open. Now, mind you, first of all the children is in the house. They're in their beds, and they're asleep. Elijah, my oldest son, had already called me and told me he wasn't going to come home for the night, so he wasn't here, right? Jeremiah is up in his room, and he's asleep, right? Then I hear the door open, like I heard the key, the key code being punched in, and I heard the door open, and then I heard the alarm thing, front door open, and then I heard it close, and I heard him set it back. And I'm like, yes, babe. Yes, I'll call you in a few. And then he set it back, you know, and I'm like, oh, Elijah must have decided to come home. Me still thinking my husband is in the closet because this whole ordeal, and I'm foolishly got my nose from under the cover wondering when he's going to come out the closet, right? And so then I hear, they weren't as hard as what I heard walking up. I didn't hear the footsteps until he got right there to the door, and he pushed the door open a little bit more and came in. But to my surprise, it wasn't open as far as I thought it was for him to push it open a little bit more. And then he came in and he didn't go to the closet. He does what he normally does. He comes right to my side of the bed, and he pulled the covers back and said, babe. I said, babe. And he's like, what? And I'm like, and I hopped up. I said, who in here? He said, what are you talking? I said, who just came in this room? He said, babe, ain't nobody in here. I said, no, wait a minute. Did you come in the house before you just came in the house? Now I'm scared, and I'm starting to sweat under my arms, right? Because none of the kids, normally the kids will like giggle or something, you know, and give themselves away. I said, no, I thought it was you. I said, no, somebody's in our closet. He said, babe, ain't nobody. I said, no, somebody's in the closet. Go check the closet. He said, babe. And he went to go check the closet. I said, check the bathroom, the toilet, open that up. He said, babe, there's nobody in here. He said, come check. I said, babe, I thought it was just you that came up here and came in this room. He said, I literally just walked in the house. I sat outside for a few minutes because I was talking to my parents on the phone. I said, no. I said, somebody's in the house. I said, and they in the closet. They didn't come back out. Check behind all the clothes. And he said, babe, come here. Look, there's nobody in our closet. So I'm like, and if you see our closet, we got this big walk-in closet, and it's closed the way that it's built and everything. So I'm checking. I'm like, who just came in here? And I was like, when he walked out, then I realized it was probably a spirit. I'm like, why is y'all playing? Y'all should not be here. And he's like, what is wrong with you? I said, babe, I kid you not. Somebody just walked in here. He said, did you see him? I said, listen, then I had to be honest. I said, no, I didn't see him. because my head was under the covers. I thought it was you, right? Still not saying that I was trying to purposely avoid talking to him. I said, no, I assumed it was you, so I didn't look up. He said, babe, you tripping. I said, no, I'm not. And I explained to him what happened. He said, no, I literally just walked in. I said, well, who walked in before you did? I said, somebody is in here. And I said, whoever you are, you better quit playing. Get out of here. You are not authorized to be here. And you're walking too heavy in my house anyway. Get out because you're trying to scare me, right? Like, it didn't come messing with me or anything. But like that whole little charade that just happened, I'm like, see, this is the crap I be talking about. We just moved in this house. Y'all. But that's not the first time since we've been here either. Like, I wanted to share that last night, but I'm like, I ain't got time to be typing all this out. I'm going to have to just hit them this in the morning. Right? Listen. When I think about it, I'm like, listen, this is our house. And if you here, you better be up bright and early paying attention to the reading of Oahspe, because if you can't raise up now, you better, by the time we get done reading, you better find your way. And get on up out of here. And whoever you got with you, y'all had better be paying attention. Right? Spooky shenanigans. Definitely the spooky hour. Because it was after midnight when this happened. I'm just like, oh, real life spooky hour in my house. Listen, that wasn't the first time. The first time I actually saw a spirit standing in my room by my door about the size of my husband. And when I turned and looked, because I thought it was Jeremiah standing in my room waiting to ask me something, and I caught it. My door was open, and it was night, and it was standing over there in the corner of my room, and I saw it there, and I just didn't look. I'm like, what, boy? And when I did like that, it was like I caught the glimpse of it walking out, and I'm like, who is that? And I hopped up, and I ran, but Jeremiah was in his room deeply playing the game. And I was just like, did you just come out of my room? He said, no, I've been in here playing the game. I said, don't play with me, boy. You was just standing in my room in the corner. He said, Mom, look, how could I get back in here? He said, I've been literally sitting here playing this game for the last, I don't know how long. And I'm like, you know what? Whoever you are, y'all better come in here with this crap. Like, seriously. I'm just like, this be too much sometime, right? So, but yeah, I want to share that. So I'll probably get this little, this book they talked about, Ghost of Flight 401 by John G. Fuller. All right, let's go back to this. We have 57 minutes. Oh my gosh. Listen, what time is it? 7:11. All right, let me finish this little paragraph. Hold up. Where we at? Oh my gosh, where does the time go? What was we at? Hold on. I do have a few more minutes this morning. I'm gonna just see. Let's see if I can. I might not be able to finish all of this. Okay. Let me see. Conversing as we may be with the human psychology, the proverbial iceberg lies hidden in a sea of theories, the simple truths of psyche, undertold by a tidal wave of experts who know nothing of the unseen dimensions of life. The facts, nonetheless, are staring us in the face, yet we hesitate to connect the dots, for the picture extends from the familiar, visible, to the unfamiliar, invisible world, and we quail on the brink of the unknown, lingering at the threshold of enlightenment. For 150 years and more, the official science of man has made every effort to explain away the signs and symptoms of the invisible world. Even members of ghost clubs, past and present, have been spiritual agnostics, given to explanations acceptable to materialism. I shouldn't be, but I am always jolted by their conservative conclusions. Take Peter Underwood, for example, longtime president of the London Ghost Club. He states the experience of seeing the ghost of a person after they are dead originates from the person of the seer. It could be classed as wishful thinking. I hesitate to accept that ghosts are evidence of an afterlife. End quote. Underwood, 1986, page 219. And with the afterlife thus censored or rebuked by our intelligentsia, we are told that it is instead our own inner life that holds the answers. I write this book to challenge that assumption. You know what? I went way back. Hold on. Let me just keep going. Yeah, because we got down here to the... We was all the way on the other page. Let me just keep going, right? Whatever. I write this book to speak openly about those dwelling in the next world, those gone before. I write this book to explore the multitudinous ways in which the spirit world touches on our own and to illuminate the ways of the everlasting soul. Quote, until man recognizes that he is an immortal spirit and possesses all the equipment of a spirit and intelligence that the great majority never even suspect in themselves, a divinity, a genius of the angelic, until he develops this to the utmost, he will remain, as he now is, the most advanced among the higher animals, combative, acquisitive, the slave of himself, the sport of circumstance and of evil forces, end quote. Lewis Spence, Will Europe Follow Atlantis? The New Age, with its frankly narcissistic focus on self, is the first to portray these mysteries as inner, sending us off to ply the so-called subconscious mind, the inner life, for stuff that in reality impinges on the soul from without. This misdirection must be the reason our thinking, our theories have dead-ended. Quote, the world is sick with theories, end quote. W.B. Yeats. The overworked inner mind, whatever that is, has thus stood in for the actual doings of spirits, as in poltergeistery, which is mawkishly blamed on the mind's inability to cope with strain, entirely missing the otherworldly element. Likewise, has the ghost world often been reduced to hallucinations, and in the same way are victims of spirit obsession supposedly imagining the interference of unseen personalities. Quote, what they're really hearing is their own inner voice imagined, end quote. Morrison, 2004, page 134. And this is where we pause at the beginning right here. I can take a few more minutes. Before modern psychology took the stage, people did indeed view insanity as a kind of infestation by external malevolent forces. Today, we smugly call this a medieval point of view. The serial killer who sees monsters, evil entities, is blithely told it is just a product of his wild imagination. Carlo, 1996, page 202. The multiple personality, like the famous Sybil or Eve, is also told that her alters, and in parentheses after alters, it has other selves come from within. All this smooth talk, whether deception or merely naive, amounts to failure on the part of those who have been entrusted with the science of mind. Let us from now on call it science. PSI-ENCE. The times are changing and progress is in store. We are now in the as if stage. Let me explain. My colleague and friend, England's Stephen Blake, 2014, page 197, mathematician and author, makes the astute observation that modern psychiatry has begun to adjust to the widespread effects of discarnate spirit influence. Without acknowledging that discarnate spirits really exist, psychiatrists now can treat their patients as if, and then square brackets is SIC, as if sick. I don't even know what that means, because I see that in a lot of places and I have yet to look it up. SIC. Anybody know what that means? If you know, just put it in there, right? Without acknowledging that discarnate spirits really exist, psychiatrists now can treat their patients as if, in the square brackets, sick they did, whilst leaving the intellectual apparatus of their discipline intact. This was indeed the tactic chosen by Dr. Adam Crabtree, who wrote, since it is not necessary to come to a final conclusion about, possession in order to deal therapeutically with it, the as-if attitude will be assumed. Thus will the possessing entity be described as a separate person. Indeed, his patient Maria had shuddered as if, emphasis added, something had possession of me. Anna, also possessed, became incapable of entering a church as though, emphasis added, prevented by some invisible force. Referring to Maria's and Anna's stories, Dr. Crabtree owns, I discovered that when the possession experience was treated as if it were exactly what it appeared to be, invasion and control of the client by another human spirit, the condition would almost always be cleared up. Crabtree, 1985, page 41, page 95. But to avoid that final moment of truth, the final bound, most analysis and patience turn to the as-if simile, thus keeping entity intrusion a hypothetical, unreal supposition. The as-if model crops up in response to every form of ASC, or altered states of consciousness. I got a few more minutes. Okay, page 19. Hold on. Oh, thank you, Jamia. Thank you. Sick is symptoms of illness. Great. Thank you for that. Hannah said, intentionally so written, used after a printed word or passage to indicate that it is intended exactly as printed or to indicate that it exactly reproduces an original. Okay. Used in brackets after a copied or quoted word that appears odd or erroneous to show that the word is quoted exactly as it stands in the original, as in a story must hold a child's interest. Gotcha. Thank you. Okay. I understand what sick is now. Okay. All right. Page 19. Hey, son. In Mediumship, describing her entrance into trance, England's psychic medium, Winifred Tennant, recalled, it seemed as if somebody else was me, as if a stranger was occupying my body, as if another's mind was in me. Cummings, 1965, page 105 and page 107. In OBEs, or out-of-body experiences, in OBEs, I was floating in the air a few feet above the bed, moving slowly toward the ceiling, as if in the grip of some powerful, cryptic directing force. Battersby, 1979, page 68. In the prophet's experience, this strange thing has suddenly come into his life and imposed itself upon him. In this state, it is as if a strange power speaks by his mouth, as if he were only the spectator of what the strange force says and does. Osterich, 1935, page 76. In bipolar disorder, it was as though there were demons inside me making me do all these crazy things. Duke and Hodgman, 1992, page 10. In MPD, or multiple personality disorder, these personalities, MPD alters, could be demonstrated to be physically, chemically, and psychologically different, almost as if, emphasis added, they indeed were different people encased in the same body. Mayer, 1989, page 28. Noting the startling changes in the multiple's voice, looks, and movements, another observer comments, it was as if, emphasis added, the therapists were encountering entirely separate people. Spencer, 1989, page 195.
I'm gonna say this before I go. Say rock star without saying anything. That's fifth dimensional you. That's your actual soul saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Start to talk with that voice instead of this. Don't let your flesh be the. That's how the guys used to manifest things back then.
Oh.
They started talking here. This
Okay.
is literally a force that doesn't need vibration to talk. Nor anything else. This is not no third. It's not the fourth dimension. That's it's not time.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fifth dimension. After the third dimension, where we see up, down, left, right.
Mm-hmm.
And fourth, time. It doesn't abide by that.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget, this is also the same voice that can peer into dreams, future tellings, that fifth dimension area.
Interesting, Jeremiah. I had to think about what you said. Okay. In possession, it is as if, emphasis added, you are no longer looking at the same person, commented one writer on the facial changes that occurred in demonic possession. Head 2004, comment by Francis McNutt. It was as if someone else were giving the orders. Another victim of possession complained. Goodman, 1981, page 21. In criminal pathology, most of the time he seemed utterly absent, as if, emphasis added, his self had long since left his body behind. Kerwin, 1997, page 42 through 43. One behavior analysis said the same about Ted Bundy. It was as if, emphasis added, an outside force had taken root, come to inhabit his psyche. Dupay, 2003, page 156. In OCD, one patient reports that she felt as if, emphasis added, she had lost control of her thoughts completely. Levenkron, 1991, page 52. Dr. Rapport, who had given us so many interesting cases of obsessive-compulsive disorder, discusses Sal's problem of compulsion to pick up trash. It appeared as if, emphasis added, it were some outside agent that suddenly provoked the illness. Rappaport, 1989, page 8. Okay, let's see. Oh, you know what? We about at the end of this. So let me just go to the end of the introduction. Tell me I get at 7:30? Straight to site? Okay. All right. Jeremiah going with you, or is Jonathan? Okay. All right, cool. Okay. If we hark back to the day when it was more customary to speak and think in terms of some outside agent, we find that certain telling figures of speech linger on in our language. Think of the literal meaning of such phrases as, what possessed me too? Something got into me. She's beside herself. He's out of his mind. What came over me? That earlier era of belief was upended by the so-called Enlightenment with its thoroughgoing faith in objective science, one could almost say by the God of science, and it has fulfilled its purpose, which was, broadly speaking, to clear away all that was uncritical, ignorant, or unsound in older provincial thinking. In this, it has succeeded marvelously, but now we face a new era, a new synthesis. The science stronghold with its arch rationalism and unstinting materialism is now faced with this challenge: what to make of the unseen forces. Most traditional societies recognize that force. The Zulus, for one, called the physical body Inyama and the shadow body Isi-Thunzi, and the vehicle of a person's spirit is called Umoya. As Ralph Waldo Emerson once put it, all I have seen teaches me to trust the Creator for all I have not seen. The move toward spiritology was, in Emily Brandt's words, the final bound. Supposed objectivity or rationality is not enough to complete the picture of the human being. Empiricism is not enough. Materialism is not enough. Intellect alone is not enough. Science is not enough. If the recent explosion of NDE, near-death experience studies, means anything, it has brought us closer to an understanding of what lies beyond. In this book, we treat the human being in both her forms, the corporean, physical, and the essene, spiritual. Quote, the spirit I made was separate from the corporal, physical life. O man of the earth, if only your spirit and your corpore stood even in wisdom and power all the days of your life. But you are so delighted in the earth that you have left your spirit unfed, and it stands within you like a spear of grass covered with a stone. Oahspe, Book of Jehovah, chapter 6, verse 10, and Book of Judgment, chapter 13, verses 11 through 12. In making the final bound, we will get past the taskmaster's demand for physical proof of non-physical things. I don't need scientific proof, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle wrote in a letter to the New York Evening Mail on December 29th, 1921. Nobody does. This is one of the fine things about spiritualism. Each person can prove it for himself, and the better you live here, the further you will go there, progressing finally to the perfect state. Proof in the purely scientific, even petty sense may turn out to be less relevant than logic, good judgment, reason, or even love. It is as the prophet xiii, also known as Confucius, said so long ago: to try to find the Creator with love instead of with a dissecting knife, this leadeth man on the highest road. To trust in him wherein we strive to do our best, this is good philosophy. Oahspe, God's Book of Esra, chapter 36, verse 44. What I perceive is that the secular model, despite its many successes, has ultimately left us high and dry, its impartiality a sham, its materialism a limitation, its godless a stone on the soul. This book I write does not pretend to be an unbiased account of human behavior, taking all views into consideration. Rather, it is a testimony of the unseen world, the layer of reality that has been brushed aside by the conceit of man. The invisible and unmeasurable world is nonetheless demonstrable in 1,000 ways. To ascertain, to show you the immortal existence of the human spirit is my goal. Quote, will man ever know he has been raised up? Will he be believing? Or will he too need to go to some new world and raise up its first fruits and toil his hundreds of years with naked mortals? End quote. Oahspe, Book of Xiii-xiv, chapter 10, verse 6. And this is the last paragraph for this introduction, then we're going to pause. All right, son. Love y'all. Drive safe. Belief is at an impasse. Most people I talk to are undecided, unsure about ultimate questions like life and death, here and hereafter. Fence sitting has become a way of life, yet this is not the safe path we think it is. Uncertainty and its companion, doublethink, is a breeding ground for hard lessons and blowback. The desire for truth in these distracted and cynical times is considered idealistic, even quixotic. But I know this, the business of problem solving, real problem solving, is not for unripe minds, nor is it the business of the politically correct or of any worldly agenda whatsoever. Frank and forthright problem solving inevitably plunges us into murky waters, secret places, even forbidding ground, bedrock, nitty-gritty. The plunge, though sober and demanding, will bring us that much closer to the safe, secure, and honest world we all crave. And ain't that the truth, right? Let me read this part again. Because we even find ourselves having to do that while breaking ourselves out of the strong delusion of Christianity or whatever religion, right? Because remember when I told you, it's like I was being led to go to certain types of books and stuff that were labeled occult till you actually get there and read it and find out, like, why is this even labeled occult? And having to also break through the mindset that occult means evil when it simply means hidden. They've just taught you it meant evil so you can stay away from it. But really, they're hiding it from you in plain sight. And you don't check behind them, right? And so you cut yourself off from the information that will set you free. Listen. Let me just read this whole little paragraph again. Belief is at an impasse. Most people I talk to are undecided, unsure about ultimate questions like life and death, here and hereafter. Fence sitting has become a way of life, yet this is not the safe path we think it is. Uncertainty and its companion, doublethink, is a breeding ground for hard lessons and blowback. The desire for truth in these distracted and cynical times is considered idealistic, even quixotic. But I know this, the business of problem solving, real problem solving, is not for unripe minds, nor is it the business of the politically correct or of any worldly agenda whatsoever. And this is what I was talking about right here. Frank and forthright problem solving inevitably plunges us into murky waters, secret places, even forbidden ground, bedrock, nitty-gritty. The plunge, though sober and demanding, will bring us that much closer to the safe, secure, and honest world we all crave. And that, my beautiful people, is the end of the introduction and the end of our reading for today. All right, so we're going to pause right here. And tomorrow we begin chapter 1, Spirit at Large. And we're going to probably be in here for a couple days. But I'm super excited about getting to chapter 2, Flight of the Soul. And I think y'all are really going to enjoy this. If y'all haven't read this, it's going to really get into details about how other spirits come in and take over through traumas, early childhood traumas. And it's talking about where your soul, your native spirit takes flight, or i.e. it goes into abeyance or into that sunken place, and what begins to happen with other spirits who are lingering around looking for the opportunity to inhabit a body, right? That's so good. All right, but we'll get back to this tomorrow. Page, hold on, introduction, end of page 22. All right, y'all. So thank y'all for hanging out, y'all. It is Monday, and most of y'all made it here, right? Some of y'all came and made a forget. We started at 6:15, but remember, Monday through Fridays now, it'll be 6:15 to 7:15. Like, if I have a little bit of time to play with in the morning, we may go over a little bit like we did today. But most days I may not be able to do that unless maybe it's like a holiday or something like that. But just, we can play with the time just a little bit, but not too much. On the weekends, no holds barred. Right? And the weekends videos will probably be the longest. All right, y'all. So it is Monday. It's the last day of the month, October 31st, 2022. It's day 251 of year 4 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets under the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1250. Hold on. I put the wrong page numbers up here. Hold on. I put half page number for this book. Hold on. In Oahspe, we started in the introduction. Hold on. Let me go back and fix what I just did. That's what I thought. Okay. Spirit. I mixed my page numbers up. That's my thing. Okay. 14. Okay, in Oahspe, we started reading the introduction on page 13, and we ended on page 14 down at the bottom, right at the last paragraph on the right. And in the Field Guide to the Spirit World, we started in the we finished reading the introduction. We picked it up on page 15, and we went all the way to page 22. All right, y'all. So with that being said, I love y'all. Father, we thank you for clarity on how the spirit develops and grows that you put inside of each and every last one of us. And the rules are the same. We just need to understand the rules of the game. All right, y'all. Yo, you did. Shiru. She said, I watched Split. That was a crazy but good movie. Could you listen, based on all that we read, that we learned throughout Oahspe these last 6 months, and even just that little bit from the Field Guide to the Spirit World, did you see all them spiritual truths that it had? It's crazy, right? It was amazing. Key, hey girl, hey, love you all. All right, y'all, peace and blessings, beloved family. May the Creator be with you all. Peace, love, and light, family. Hannah, Angelique, love y'all. Be safe, go out, and be the lights. Yes, amen. Love and peace, Mama. I love y'all. Bella! I almost forgot to call, sis. Why is she coming down here? Yes, go watch it. Go watch it. Samuel Jackson is in it, too. All right, y'all. All right, y'all. I love y'all. See y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace. Hit the video, girl. Come on, before they get me for copyright infringement on this music. Hurry up.